Okay, ever find yourself staring at a long list of cosmetic ingredients and, I don't know, feeling like you need a chemistry degree just to understand it?
Huh. Yeah, it can definitely feel that way sometimes.
Well, you are certainly not alone. Today, we're going deep on some really interesting consumer news. We've just sifted through the May 27th, 2025 edition of Consumers.App. That's your kind of daily roundup of consumer happenings.
Right, and we're here to pull out the key insights, adding some analysis from consumers' research.
Exactly. Our mission today, to cut through the noise and figure out what really matters for you from that day's news.
And, looking at the sheer amount of information compiled by Consumers.App, it really highlights the challenge consumers face. Our job is to add that layer of context, the so what, behind it all.
Absolutely. Let's dive straight in with something many of us use every day. Cosmetics. Your life choices had a pretty blunt headline.
Oh, which one was that?
Are your favorite cosmetics hiding these chemicals? It kind of makes you hesitate before reaching for that moisturizer, doesn't it?
It really should make you pause, yeah. Consumers' research has flagged several common synthetic chemicals found in beauty products. We're talking things like PFAS.
Those forever chemicals.
Exactly. Concerns about persistence, potential health effects. Then you've got formaldehyde releasers, parabens, phthalates, all linked in some studies to various health issues.
Issues like hormone disruption, allergic reactions, even potential links to cancer. That sounds, pretty significant for something we put on our skin daily.
It does raise real questions about risk and, importantly, regulation. If you look globally, the EU is much more cautious.
Oh, so?
They ban or restrict thousands of substances, and manufacturers have to prove safety before a product is sold pre-market assessment.
Whereas in the U.S.,
the FDA mainly uses post-market surveillance. They step in after problems arise. It's a fundamentally different approach, really.
So Europe is prove it's safe first, and the U.S. is more, we'll watch and react.
Mm-hmm.
That suggests we might need to be more proactive ourselves here in the U.S.
Precisely. Which brings us to alternatives, like organic versus synthetic cosmetics.
Right. Is organic always the safer bet? That's the common assumption.
Generally, yes. Certified organic avoids many of those concerning synthetics, lowering allergy risks and potential long-term worries. But natural isn't foolproof.
Like you said, poison ivy is natural.
Exactly. Some plant ingredients can still cause reactions, but the strict organic standards do give more assurance about what's not in there.
Okay, so if we want to decode those labels ourselves, is there a trick? Like a secret handshake?
Not exactly secret, but there's a standard. INCI, the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients.
INCI.
It's the universal naming system. Learning common names, maybe researching unfamiliar ones. It helps you be more informed.
Like a translator for lotion language. It's also wild to think what used to be in cosmetics. Consumers' research mentioned lead, mercury, arsenic.
Absolutely chilling, right? The serious health problems they caused led to today's stricter rules. It shows progress, even if we still have concerns about some modern synthetics.
So looking forward, what's new? Any cool innovations?
Oh, definitely. There's exciting work on biodegradable alternatives. A 2024 study, for instance, looked at plant protein microcapsules.
Plant protein microcapsules. Sounds futuristic.
Sort of. They deliver ingredients effectively and are over 98% biodegradable. A big step for sustainability. Could be the future, though there are hurdles for widespread use.
Wow, that's encouraging.
And technology's helping in other ways. A 2025 study explored using knowledge graphs and digital tools.
For what purpose?
To help consumers assess not just safety, but also things like cultural appropriateness, say, whether a product is halal. Analyzing complex ingredients, putting power back in your hands.
So our phones could tell us if a product is safe and aligns with our values. That's quite a leap. Okay, let's stick with skincare, but pivot slightly. Only My Health on MSN.com asked, is your sunscreen safe to use? Here's how you can check your skincare quality. How do we check?
Really important, given it goes right on our skin and, the environmental impact. Consumers' research points towards mineral filters.
So like zinc oxide.
Zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, generally considered safer. They suggest being cautious with chemical filters like oxybenzone and octinoxate.
So those are the ones banned in Hawaii, right, because of the coral reefs?
Exactly. That ban really highlighted the environmental cost. So look for mineral filters and also regulatory compliance.
What does that mean? Labels.
Yeah, look for broad spectrum. That means UVA and UVB protection and SPF 30 or higher. In the U.S., a drug facts label means it meets FDA standards. That assures you it's been tested.
But are those SPF numbers totally accurate? I feel like I've heard stories.
That's a fair question. Research shows the protection you actually get can vary. It depends how much you put on, how evenly.
The application matters a lot.
Definitely. While there are standard tests, sometimes independent testing finds differences. So don't just trust the number applied generically and reapply often.
Good reminder. And the environmental side beyond coral. Any other issues?
Well, the scientific consensus points to oxybenzone and octinoxate contributing to coral bleaching and harming marine life. Mineral sunscreens are seen as the eco-friendlier choice. They work differently, too.
How so?
Mineral ones physically block UV rays. Chemical ones absorb them.
So for us, mineral versus chemical. What's the difference on our skin?
Mineral sunscreens, zinc and titanium, tend to be gentler. Good for sensitive skin. They offer broad spectrum protection and are better for the planet. Chemical ones work well, too, but have a higher chance of irritation for some people, plus those environmental worries.
Is research ongoing to make them even better?
Oh, constantly. A 2022 study looked closely at the optical properties, how lotions absorb and scatter light.
Why does that matter?
Understanding those properties, the absorption and scattering coefficients, helps scientists create better formulas. Ones that block the right rays more effectively and spread better on the skin. Better testing methods, too.
Science making our beach days safer. You also mentioned chemical sunscreens breaking down in chlorine.
Yeah, interesting point, right? Research showed a common one, 2-ethylhexyl-4-methoxycinnamate, can degrade in chlorinated water. Forms byproducts. We don't fully know their effects.
So maybe stick to mineral if you're a pool swimmer.
Might be something to consider, yeah. More stable.
Okay, let's move from sunscreen to another common ingredient. Preservatives. Cosmetics Business had this headline: Preservative challenge testing for cosmetics. Proven safety with scientific precision. Sounds intense. What is it?
It's basically a microbial boot camp for cosmetics. Preservative efficacy testing, or PT.
Boot camp.
Yeah, scientists deliberately add microbes, bacteria, fungi to a product to see if the preservatives can kill them off or stop them growing over time. It's standard practice.
To make sure our lotions don't become petri dishes.
Exactly. Keeps them safe on the shelf and while we're using them. It's like ensuring the guards can actually fight off invaders.
Makes sense. Now, speaking of things causing reactions, Consumers Research also talked about common allergens. What should we look out for?
Well, the usual suspects include fragrances, often complex chemical mixes, some preservatives like parabens and formaldehyde releasers, certain colorants, and even some natural extracts.
And they can cause anything from mild itching to
full-blown dermatitis, yeah. It varies a lot.
And it's not always synthetic bad, natural good for allergies, is it?
No, absolutely not. Synthetics like artificial fragrances do have a higher track record for causing reactions in some people. But natural things like certain essential oils can be potent allergens too. Both need careful consideration.
Are there rules about this stuff? Managing allergens?
Yes. Regulatory bodies like the FDA and the European Commission have guidelines. The EU, for example, requires that peat testing we talked about, and they list 26 specific fragrance allergens that must be labeled if present.
Does the U.S. have that list?
Not the same explicit list for fragrances, no. But manufacturers are still responsible for safety and listing all ingredients.
Okay. Now, one specific allergen mentioned was carmine. What on earth is carmine?
Carmine. It's a vibrant red pigment. Comes from crushed cochineal insects.
Insects. In my lipstick.
Potentially, yes. It's used in lots of cosmetics for that deep red color. But the carminic acid can be an allergen for some. So because it's from an animal and can cause reactions, it needs clear labeling, especially in the EU.
Wow. Good to know. Are these cosmetic allergies actually getting more common? Feels like you hear about them more.
Evidence does suggest allergic diseases generally, including contact dermatitis from cosmetics, are on the rise. Could be many factors, more products, more exposure, maybe environmental changes.
So what can we do as consumers trying to avoid a reaction?
Consumers research suggests some practical steps. Always patch test a new product first.
Like on your arm?
Yeah. Small hidden spot. Choose products with fewer ingredients, things you recognize. Avoid known allergens, obviously. Look for hypoallergenic labels, though that's not foolproof. And report any bad reactions you have.
Reporting helps track problems.
Exactly. Helps regulators monitor things.
Okay, really helpful advice. Let's switch from what we put on our bodies to what we put in them. Food waste. The Washington Post on MSN.com had a piece. 5 myths about food expiration dates and best buy labels. This is a huge issue, right?
Massive. A 2021 UN analysis found households account for 61% of global food waste. 61%.
Wow, that's mostly us at home.
Yep. And all that waste has a huge carbon footprint, billions of tons of CO2 equivalent. So changing our behavior at home is critical.
And those confusing dates definitely play a part. Best by, use by, sell by.
Absolutely. Misunderstanding them means tons of perfectly good food gets tossed, but there's innovation happening. Apps using sensory observation sight, smell plus AI to help judge spoilage better.
So tech helping us trust our own senses again, instead of just a date.
Kind of, yeah. And research using computer models, agent-based models, shows how social influence matters, too. If your neighbor starts wasting less food, it can actually ripple outwards.
Positive peer pressure. Is there a global target for cutting waste?
There is. UN Sustainable Development Goal 12.3 aims to have per capita food waste globally by 2030. Ambitious, but important.
And how good are our senses compared to those dates?
Often better, according to a 2023 study, especially when combined with machine learning algorithms. Our nose and eyes can be more accurate than a stamped-on date. Tech-like image classification is really helping here.
Amazing. Using AI to stop us throwing out good food.
Exactly. These tools give us better info, potentially cutting waste significantly.
And the benefits are more than just saving grocery money, right?
Oh, much more. Less landfill emissions, especially methane. Saves water, land, and societally, it helps address hunger by redirecting surplus food.
Okay, turning now to supplements. NBC News on MSN.com reported, rates of liver injuries rise in the U.S. as supplements grow in popularity. That sounds alarming.
It is concerning. Consumers' research explains that while nutrient deficiencies can harm the liver, maybe from poor diet, absorption issues, or higher needs, the boom in supplements can sometimes make things worse.
How? Wouldn't supplements help fix deficiencies?
Not always straightforward. People might take way too much or mix things without guidance, overwhelming the liver's detoxification pathways. Or supplements might interact badly with medications. More isn't always better.
That makes sense. The report mentioned vitamin B12 deficiency specifically. How's that linked to the liver?
Well, B12 is key for nerves and blood cells, but a long-term lack can indirectly hinder the liver's ability to process toxins and drugs effectively. It just shows how interconnected everything is.
And what about how our body manages energy, nutritionally speaking, in a new science?
Yeah, there's interesting research on cellular mechanisms, how the liver handles shifts, like fasting then refeeding. A key player is AMPK.
AMPK.
Think of it as the liver cell's energy sensor. When energy is low, AMPK ramps up processes to produce more energy and handle metabolic stress. It's crucial for balance.
We also hear about the double burden of malnutrition.
What?
That's
That's where you see both undernutrition lacking key nutrients and overnutrition, like obesity from excess calories, happening in the same population, sometimes even the same household. A tricky public health challenge.
So how do doctors figure out if a deficiency is hurting someone's liver?
Usually involves blood tests for specific nutrient levels, like B12, maybe other tests too. Management often means dietary changes and, if needed, targeted, supervised supplementation.
And are regulators trying to manage the risks of all these supplements?
The FDA has guidelines for manufacturing and labeling, and they track reported problems. But the core advice from health bodies is still, get nutrients from a balanced diet first. Be cautious with supplements, especially high doses, unless advised by a doctor.
Okay, good advice. Let's end on something potentially positive. Everyday Health via MSN.com reported. Vitamin D may slow biological aging, study finds. Now that's a headline.
Right. A 2024 study suggested that good vitamin D levels, maybe through safe supplementation, might slow biological aging. Seems linked to reducing cell damage, oxidative stress, maybe even affecting DNA methylation.
DNA methylation. Like genetic switches.
Sort of, yeah. Lifestyle and environment can flick those switches. Vitamin D might help keep them in a more youthful state. It's early days, but fascinating.
How common is vitamin D deficiency?
It's a global issue, actually. Some groups are at higher risk. Data from Australia showed very low intakes among Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, for example. Deficiency is linked to bone problems, weaker immune function.
And what's the recommended intake?
It varies by age, but U.S. guidelines, like from the NIH, generally suggest 10 to 20 micrograms a day. Often needs supplementing, especially if you don't get much sun or have dietary limits.
And how does vitamin D help cells stay healthy, potentially slowing aging?
It's vital for calcium and phosphate metabolism, think bone health, but it also influences gene expression related to cell growth, and it acts as an antioxidant, fighting that age-accelerating oxidative stress.
Are people generally getting enough, though?
Studies, like another one from 2024, show gaps, especially in vulnerable groups. Average intakes can be well below recommendations. Suggests we need better strategies, food fortification, accessible supplements.
And its role in immunity, especially after recent years.
Yeah, reviews suggest adequate vitamin D might support a stronger immune response, possibly helping against viral infections like COVID-19. Research is ongoing, but it seems beneficial for overall immune health.
So, practically, how can we boost our vitamin D food-wise?
Fatty fish is great: salmon, tuna, eggs too, and fortified foods are key. Milk, yogurt, some cereals. Public health efforts promoting these sources and fortification are really important.
Well, that was a whirlwind tour through the consumer landscape of May 27th, 2025. Huge thanks to Consumers.App for compiling the news, and thank you for walking us through the consumer's research analysis.
My pleasure. It's always valuable to connect these dots and see the bigger picture around consumer choices and well-being.
Absolutely. If you, listening, want to dig deeper into any of this, definitely check out Consumers 360 for more detailed analysis and resources.
And if you found this deep dive useful,
Please do like and subscribe to Consumers 360. That way, you won't miss our future explorations into consumer news and research.
so we'll leave you with the final thought. Reflecting on everything we covered today, chemicals, sunscreen, food baits, supplements, vitamins, what's one habit or product in your own life you might look at a little differently now?